Hi, I'm Sophie Williams. I'm the author of The Glass Cliff, and here are the top questions that business leaders ask me. So one of the first things that business leaders often ask me is what to do about the broken pipeline. They feel like they would have more women in senior positions if only there were more good women out there. My advice to business leaders who worry that the right talent isn't out there is always that it's probably a lot closer to home than you imagine. My advice is to look within your own company, and to do that being aware of the broken rung. So the broken rung is really the experience of taking that first step up your career ladder, of taking that first step towards a management position. And what we can see is that even in that very first step towards management, gender impacts opportunity. For every 100 men who take that first step up the ladder towards a senior leadership role, only 87 women do the same. And so that pool of talent to choose from at that first level becomes disproportionately skewed towards men. When we look to promote further, if we only take talent from this pool, we're more likely than not to choose a man, and so on, all of the way up the ladder. We see in businesses that women are rated consistently higher for their potential, but those potential ratings somehow don't turn into promotion opportunities. So for business leaders who feel that there just isn't that talent within the organisation, I challenge you. I suspect that you're wrong. I suspect that you've just not taken potential into account when it comes to reward. So I really encourage you to look at who you already have inside of your business. Business leaders often talk to me about retention. They want to know where their female talent goes. They feel that they bring them in, but they can't seem to keep them, at least not long term. I would say that businesses need to be aware of what's called the great breakup. And that's the phenomenon that we're seeing at the moment, where senior women are leaving their jobs, leaving the roles that they've worked so hard to achieve, at the greatest and highest numbers ever. In fact, for every one woman who's promoted to a senior leadership role in the US at the moment, 2 women are choosing to leave those roles. And so businesses need to actually look at what women want from them. And they need to do that by, and it might sound like a crazy suggestion, by speaking to women. When we talk to women, one of the main things that they say would make their working lives better would be flexibility. These women aren't looking to do less work or to find shortcuts. They're just looking to be able to work on their own terms in their own way. And that requires trust, and businesses need to give them that trust. Business leaders also often ask why, even in businesses and in industries that are so female dominated, so few of those women tend to end up in leadership positions. If we look at industries like marketing, like PR, like publishing, like healthcare, we find that there is an abundance of women at these entry-level, junior, even mid-senior roles. But by the time we get to the very, very most senior person in the room or in the organisation, the CEOs, the board members, those all tend to be men. And when I talk to businesses about that, I try to explain the glass cliff versus the glass escalator. The glass cliff sees that women tend to be brought into leadership roles when there's already some form of crisis. And firefighting a crisis is hard, and it means that often women don't stay in those roles for as long as their male counterparts. The glass escalator means that in female-dominated businesses, instead of having the ceiling that women are used to hitting their heads on, the male experience is of being drawn up, of being fast-tracked to the top, as though they're on some kind of escalator. And so that can go some way to explaining why even in businesses where women are so overrepresented, they tend to be underrepresented at those most senior levels. Businesses also often ask me how to stop the glass cliff. Once they learn about it, they want to do something about it, and they ask me what that can be. My first piece of advice for businesses that are looking to overcome the glass cliff within their own workforce is to be aware of it, is to be open about it, And this is something that I speak about in the audio extras of my book, The Glass Cliff. And that's because I was able to interview the HR manager for the Globe Theatre. And she was able to come to a talk that I did about the Glass Cliff. And she was able to recognise from that talk some of the risks that it posed for her business, because they were at a moment of finding and bringing in their new CEO. But once she was aware of the Glass Cliff, she was able to take steps to mitigate against it. She was able to be open and transparent about that during the interview process. She was able to say to candidates, we recognise that this is a possibility. What do you feel that you would need to be successful against the Glass Cliff? In having that open and honest conversation, they weren't waiting for someone to step into the role and to find themselves edged ever closer to a perceived failure before offering help. Instead, they were able to address that from before the appointment was made, from the interview stage, and to take the necessary steps to mitigate against the person falling victim to it. Sometimes business leaders ask me, why are we even still talking about equality when we clearly already have it? We've had female prime ministers, you can see female CEOs, so surely this conversation about equality has gone as far as it needs to go. My response to that would be, it's simply not. When we look at the stats around female representation and female access to leadership and female progression or even fair pay within the working world, we know that we are still far behind anything that we would call equal. Last year, I was lucky enough to be invited by the United Nations to be a delegate to their Conference on the State of Women. One thing that they said that really shocked me is that the UN in 2020 had made an assessment about how long it would take us globally to achieve equality. And the figure they estimated was 100 years. 100 years to achieve gender equality around the world. After COVID, they looked back at that, and the number that they landed on was 120 years just for the UK to meet that aim. We talk a lot about equality and the progress that's been made there, but we can't let that success blind us to the fact that there is more still to be done. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you did, The Glass Cliff is out now.